like to put a few trigger warnings in front of this video in case anybody will have any ill effects from watching it. So we're going to talk a little bit about borderline personality disorder, and within that we're going to get into a little bit of trauma, neglect, and abandonment. If any of these cause you any issues at all, please do not continue watching. That is not my intent. Alright, for everyone that has stayed, I wanted to get a little bit into borderline personality disorder. Now, I'm sure you have seen me talk about it. I'm sure you have seen other people talk about saying that they have it. This is a mental illness that affects about 1% of the United States. It's actually considered common. And I wanted to give a little bit more information about that and why it is sometimes I do the things that I do. So, the reason it's called borderline personality disorder is because it is on the verge of being considered neurosis and psychosis. It is on the borderline between those two. So that is the first distinction I did want to make. It is not bipolar disorder. That is a separate, although very unique disorder itself. Okay, so in childhood, this is a brain that is developing normally, taking in everything it sees, and I'm starting to understand the environment around it. This is what happens when some children experience abuse, neglect, abandonment, or a mix of all three, if not all three. Now we have a split brain. Why do we have a split brain? Because the people that are supposed to take care of you, it could be your parents, it could be whomever you grew up living with, end up doing these things. So one side understands, knows, and loves that person, and knows that this is my mom, this is my dad, this is my grandfather, what have you. They do all these nice things. When we're out in public, they buy me nice things. Everything is great. And then the other part of your brain now sees this other person who is dark, potentially evil, just terrible individual who does terrible things that should never happen to anybody. And your brain can no longer put them together to give you a clear picture of who that person is. Your brain cannot understand why they are these two very separate individuals all in one. And the reason why that's important is because that gets into a borderline personality disorder exists because you can split. This is usually a disassociation. It can also mean outbursts emotionally, whether angry outbursts, sad outbursts, bouts of depression. What happens is you can't face what is happening in front of you. It is either a trigger, it is something that makes you feel very uncomfortable and leaves you unsure of who you are. It can make you question your very existence and self-worth. Symptoms of borderline personality disorder include impulsivity, which is a lot of the time why I cut my own hair and bleach it and do whatever it is that I want to do on the fly because I just need to do that. The second one I want to talk about is suicidal ideation. Now, it can be taken to mean you are suicidal, but there are two distinct differences. There is passive suicidal ideation and there is active suicidal ideation. I fall more into the passive category. It is something that I think about. It is something that I have pretty much always thought about, and it is there, but I have no active plan or no thought process to go through with it. That is the active suicidal ideation. It is something that I am thinking about all the time. I may already have a plan. I may start giving away possessions, anything to help other people because I know I'm not going to be here long. And that is bringing me to my next small caveat here. if that is the way that I end up going, if that is how I die, I just want you to know that the person that's talking to you right now does not want to commit suicide. I don't. I do deal with the thoughts, but if I ever get to that point, just know that the person sitting here speaking to you has already been dead for a while. Okay? On to the third. Risky behavior. That can fall into impulsivity, but it also can mean very unstable relationships. It can mean going out on Tinder dates every other day, and not just because you want connection with another person, but because you need that instant gratification. You need it right now. Alright. The next one is a feeling of loneliness. Chronic loneliness and not having a good sense of self. This is something that I do also deal with. It is part of the reason why I change my profile picture all the time, and why I constantly post my hoop videos. I post what I'm feeling on social media, even if other people think that you should have a journal for that. It is what it is, and it is my account, so I will do with it as I please. Anyway, so sometimes you feel like you don't exist. You know that there are people around you, they acknowledge your presence, you go to work every day, but this grand scheme of things has nothing to do with you, and that bleeds in a little bit to the suicidal ideation, but it is distinct. You feel like you don't matter. You feel like screaming into the void just to see if anything answers back. You just don't know where you fit in. You don't know what you want to do. You don't have any real acknowledgement that you exist and that you matter, and that is directly because of what you dealt with in your childhood. The next one that I want to talk about is mood instability. And although it may seem similar to bipolar disorder, the difference is how quickly a person with BPD goes through these mood swings. So it can happen multiple times a day, every week, every month. I may not always look like there's turmoil brewing, but there always is. There always is. So you can feel like you are on top of the world. Everything is great. You are crushing your goals. Everything is happening for you. And then you look in the mirror and you see that distorted self-image and you want to kill yourself. You think that there really isn't any reason to go on anymore. No one really knows who you are. No one cares. What does it matter? And then you can see a cute puppy video on Facebook and want to help the rest of the world and want to do things about everything that bothers you. Everything that bothers you. And you can't possibly do that. It is hard. Alright. The last one I want to touch upon is very intense, very unstable personal relationships. This does not only apply to romantic relationships. This applies to every relationship you will ever have with another human being. So, what this means is the same as your mood can go from happy to sad, depressed, suicidal, angry, whatever. You get those feelings about yourself and about other people too. So if I'm in a store with somebody else and we end up splitting up to save time or look for different things, if I can't find them within a few minutes, honestly, I feel like that I've been left there, that I have been abandoned once again, and that they're not coming back for me. And why would they? Because I'm such a piece of shit. Get the cycle. It's a little bit of a continuum, so these things just kind of bleed into each other, and in the end it makes people very depressed. So you can battle with where you stand in a relationship, whether or not you're even worthy of being in that relationship. Maybe you think that they're better than you or that they deserve better, Maybe you think you deserve better and you hate everything about them and everything sucks and you really just need to leave, and how could you ever have done this to yourself? And then and then the next day you wake up fine and you think about proposing to that person and everything is back on track. You have such a hard time in these interpersonal relationships, and again, this can mean any relationship you've ever been in, and wanting to end them and not feeling worthy or feeling like they aren't worthy of you. This can bleed into every relationship that you have. So if you don't know where you stand with someone with BPD, please just be patient and ask them. If they don't have a direct answer, they do not have a direct answer right now, but most of the time, if they are acknowledging what is happening to them and they are getting the help that they need, they should be able to express that to you in layman's terms. You know, you need, though, to give us a little bit of space. It may not seem like it, but our thoughts are constantly racing. We're constantly juggling between wanting to do absolutely everything we've ever wanted to do all in one day to wanting to wrap our tree around a pole. I remember in 2016, I had a pretty serious breakdown. Not many people know about that. I did reach out to a few people, but for the most part, that's something that I kept inside. I wanted to die. Even though I had everything that anybody could want, I wanted to die because I did not see the point in surviving through this anymore. This is a heavy struggle. It is a heavy burden to carry. It is not a badge of honor, but you can use it like one if that helps you. It consumes so much of your day. It consumes my dreams even. My dreams can be so horrific and just mess with me for days and days. Please just take this into consideration the next time you see me doing something weird and reaching out on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or wherever I happen to find a space to talk about it, because that's the only way we'll ever get past this, and that's the only way people will ever understand each other, is if we are honest with the struggles that we have. Because I bet you everybody struggles. We all just struggle in different ways. This is the way that I struggle, and I will help absolutely anybody that ever comes to me and needs help, and I'm able to provide it for them. I'm not a therapist. I'm not trained in any sort of mental illness. I just know this one the best because it is the one that I happen to have. So if you took anything from this, if you want to share it, feel free. I just really needed to get this off my chest and to explain to some people perhaps my erratic behavior at times, and to really let people know that mental illness does not have a face. It can be absolutely anybody. We are all struggling, so let's try to be kind, okay? Signing off.